All right, everybody.
Here it is.
It's Thursday.
Night.
Look at this official.
You're trying to be official.
Official cue cards, new space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's a Thursday. We welcome you. Didn't we tell you? We told you we was gonna switch it up on you. We told you we was gonna switch it up.
Last week we said that. We said,
For me.
wait until next week. It's Mother's Day. It's May. We're going to be doing some special things.
It's all the things. So it's a very special episode.
So wait, we have to get used to our space. If we seem like a little like,
it's new. It's new.
And new is good.
This is episode 71. You can believe it. Okay. And we're having guests, in-person guests. Okay, we've been StreamYarding. It's been cool. Shout out to them. We will take a sponsorship check. We will take an affiliate link. We'll do all those things. But we're gonna have in-person guests. Some of our favorite people in the world. This is the mother-daughter duo that if you know us personally, you know like this is the mother-daughter duo we roll with. You dig what I'm talking about? So we're gonna be talking about generational gap, which we started last week.
Mm-hmm.
So look, it's gonna be a fun ride. It's gonna be a good time. People who know us, when we announce these people after the intro, you're gonna be very, very excited. So just stick around, man.
This episode is
definitely for you only. For sure.
All right.
See you in a minute.
Hi, I'm Pam Williams, a mother.
And I'm Jessica E. Williams, a daughter. And this is a mother and a daughter truthful chat, where we discuss our 35-year multi-layered relationship.
We've been through so many ups and downs. Not only are we family, but we're business partners in the high-stress world of event planning and production for short films.
We've also shared the same therapist for over 10 years. What some people call codependence, we call collaboration.
So join us as we share stories from our lives,
Have candid conversations with other mother-daughter duos,
and shed light on the roller coaster ride of being a woman while raising a woman.
All right, y'all. It's go time. If you're just now joining us, welcome to Truthful Chats. This is our weekly podcast series. Okay, it has been weekly. We've been consistent. It's our weekly podcast series under our brand Create Generational Wellness. If you've never heard that term before, that's because we made it up. And if you hear anyone else out in the streets using it, you know what time it is. I mean, be respectful of all humans. Anyway, today is very exciting. Okay, we're still talking about generational gaps. That's our theme of the month. That's what we're talking about all month long. We had Pammy and I last week doing a little discourse, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
And we have been promising
that
we are going to bring you other dynamic mother and daughter duos.
promises are meant to be kept.
Yes, indeed.
And today we're doing that. Today we have, why don't you do mother and then I'll do daughter. Go ahead. What do you want to say about
This is my bestie. This is my bestie from over 40 years.
Why is she looking at me like I know the math?
Because it's based on your age.
Oh, I am
So
36, almost 37.
37.
I'll be
So
37 in a month.
yeah, probably over 40 years we've been friends. So we could really get each other in a lot of trouble if we told a lot of the things that we know. But we're not going to do that on this podcast. We are really just going to be talking about mother and daughter things, not other things.
We are. And the daughter is my cousin. She is 6 years my junior. She was
So she was waiting on her to be born, rubbing the belly every day. When is she coming out?
We'll get into it. When I finally met her as a child, she was a terror. So it took us a while to get it together. But she's still a little sister, a little cousin, the big homie. I have to check her all the time, but it's all in love, okay? If you don't know who we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, not now, but right now, for Iris and Joy Thomas.
Yeah, make some noise. Yeah, make some noise.
We in the house. Listen, what you guys can't hear is the screams and applause for all the people all around who love them because they really have a fan base. Like if you know, you know. All right, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Truthful Chats.
Yes.
I missed you, Joy.
Oh, it's right there.
Eyes is very important. Eyes where?
On each
When you
other.
toast.
Oh, on each other.
It's very important.
All right.
It's very important.
We are not going to be
All right.
as stupid as we could be on this podcast. We're going to try to.
I just want to point out there is a generational divide. There's a generational gap. Okay, it's baby boomers on this side, millennials. Are you a millennial or you're a Gen Z?
Oh, don't do that.
also?
I'm a millennial.
Okay, you're a young millennial. I'm an old millennial. I just
Yeah.
wanna check. Okay, all right.
Y'all cover both ends. Of
We
the
do.
We,
That's
we,
right.
cover, we
Wow.
cover the entire
Mm-hmm.
because I'm an 87.
I'm 90.
3.
Why did you say it like that?
I didn't know we was gonna be saying ages. Like,
I
was like, oh, it's we're
just
getting
naturally
into
came-
it.
naturally came with
Lord.
conversation. All right, so
Wait, we didn't say where we're drinking.
Oh,
I am drinking Constant Comment. And for those of you who don't know, that's a very old tea. And it was my mom's favorite tea. So I figured because of what we're talking about today, I would drink Constant Comment mixed with a little lemon ginger.
What is constant comment?
That's the name of the tea. It's
But what's
like
it taste like?
orange and spicy. It's like an orange spicy
Ooh.
with a little clove blend.
Oh,
Yes, it's very delicious.
before chai.
I believe we've never.
I didn't know that.
All right.
I see. What are you drinking?
I'm having a lovely. This is a hot cup of. It was a caramel pecan coffee,
Ooh.
but it doesn't have enough.
Mhm.
So I went on and put a French roast up under it.
Yes,
Put a
there we
French
go.
roast boost and a bit of coffee made.
I love it.
That's what I'm having.
Alright.
What are you having, Joy?
I'm pretending that this is a citrus forward spirit drink with a tahini rim, but instead it is a hot vanilla latte.
Mm.
Amen.
Amen.
We can
We'll do that on
use
another
our
one.
imagination.
We can use our imagination.
We can have that after.
And I'm just drinking cranberry tea. I'm not that fancy. So keeping it simple. You've seen these cups before. They've been on the show before. All right. Are you ready to get into this? We're
Let's
just
start.
conversing. That's all we're doing. All right. So we're talking about generational gaps. Okay. Pammy and I have had several conversations. Just about how we're able, like, because we come from two different spaces, sometimes there's things like I'll talk about that she'll understand. For example, the massacre that was the beef this weekend. Shout out to the king. It's not as important to her as it is to me, but
Yeah.
it's very, very important to our generation. They're all like, why is he being so mean to him? Why are they saying these things? And we like, because we grew up in hip hop culture, that's why. Like, this is how we get down. And I wish it was nicer. I wish it hadn't been as bloody and intrusive as it has been, but it is. And so we're all about, this show is all about learning how to create generational wellness, right? Literally.
I think it's so smart.
Taking,
So smart.
examining where we are, where we've been as a people and our families, and how we can constantly get
Get
better.
better.
So I think you're up first. Aren't you talking about the baby boomer experience for the folks?
Well, I kind of want to
We respect our
recap a
elders
little
around
bit from last week because we did kind of start talking about the generational gap a little bit last week. And we talked about, us growing up in the 50s, 60s, early 60s, and how much decorum and
Yeah.
rightness
Yeah.
and
You don't have
being, respectable Negroes was very important during that era. Which we know is very different for y'all. But that is one of the things that kind of makes a divide is we grew up with that. And so I don't know about you, but I had certain expectations to XYZ and XYZ. Whatever that was. It didn't necessarily mean
You always talk
Yeah.
about being BBGs, better black girls.
yes.
That is
Yes.
true.
Yes.
And it's like a thing in the family. Like, they're
Yeah.
like, I gotta be BBGs. And we're like,
At all times.
Better in this respect, not better than
Somebody
me
else.
being better than Pammy, but better than white folks. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Better
that
than
was
be-
exactly
what it is. It's
Yeah.
you're better than the average bear because that's what you had to be at that time. And
because
we
they told us that you have to
be better than them.
200. If they're 100%, you have to be 200 to be seen, to be valued, to be noticed. All
Absolutely.
that. So that was part of our culture.
And I found that my family was not as overt about those things, but they constantly instilled it. I never felt stressful. Like we didn't have big conversations, and we lived in the segregated South. When I was a little girl, we lived in Kentucky,
Yeah.
and I remember getting snatched out of a segregated pool. I didn't know why. My dad just pulled me
When did
out.
you live in Kentucky? I've never heard this before.
Uncle James was born in Kentucky. There's
You
so
made
many
that up.
secrets.
I never knew
Uncle
that.
James-
Why we have to
so
have this
I've
conversation.
never heard
so
that
many
before.
secrets in the
Go
naked
downstairs.
city.
Never
Understand?
Kentucky.
You said, yeah, the South. I'm like, Pennsylvania, DC. I don't consider those the South.
Well,
This is
Mississippi.
you said, yeah, you know, my days in Kentucky. I'm like,
We're not for
what days?
the bluegrass state, honey.
Oh, okay, no, please. Go
I was in
ahead.
kindergarten. I started school in Kentucky.
I've never heard that.
I
I've never heard that before,
Yeah.
ever.
That's true.
Who are you?
My dad was in the army. It was a part of his dental. He went to school in the GI Bill, and so he had to go. And
But this
serve.
isn't where you lived when you guys had the house above his practice. That wasn't Kentucky.
That's Harrisburg. But that's where we moved to after we left. We left
Oh, y'all
Kentucky.
originated in Kentucky.
Mhm.
How old were you then?
I started kindergarten in Kentucky.
Were you born in Kentucky?
No, DC.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
All right.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I was
see,
yanked
I
out of
was
a
just
segregated
saying,
pool.
respect.
So there was a discreet way because there was still overt racism and segregation when I was growing up.
Mhm.
And so there was a way to keep your kids safe. It's almost like us and the kids in Harlem.
Exactly.
The crack, you walking through the crackheads, but you don't say, there's a crackhead. Ah! You just hold your hand extra tight. And we walked at a certain clip, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, it was a certain time and certain expectations, and they kept us safe.
To keep people safe. We talked about that in our
Mhm.
February episode in terms of parenting from slavery all the way up to where we are now with Jim Crow and segregation and all that, where a lot of times there was not a lot of times for conversation
That's right.
about why you're being told to do something. It
Mhm.
was for your safety
Yeah.
and to make sure you didn't get killed.
Right.
Like Emmett Till, or
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
was that kind of intensity that we grew up with. So,
Mm.
that made us a type of way,
Mhm.
in terms of how we lived, how we expected to live,
A quick response. If my parents said something, it was I knew we lived a pretty chill life, but if my mother or father raised their voice or
How'd that look?
spoke to you in urgency, you snapped to it. And they never said because somebody's gonna kill you or they're gonna burn our house down or whatever it is. But it was that. You know what I mean? It was that. My father was really been out of shape, and I didn't realize until I got older that I went to Spelman. Like y'all don't know, I went to Spelman. I went to school in Atlanta, Georgia. My dad was been out of shape. My brother went to Morehouse. He said, okay, if he must, but sending his daughter to the South,
Yeah.
and I didn't get it. But my dad was from Pittsburgh, and the whole way down there driving, he was like, Jackie, I'm not feeling this at all, at all, because
Of the danger level.
yep,
Yeah.
So there's literally, like we grew up in church, so we're used to the tone of like, don't do that, don't act up. But
Mhm.
there was like a tone y'all parents had about like, this is a life-threatening situation. Like, be
It
careful.
wasn't for me. My parents, I grew up as a PK. My dad was a pastor at a church, same church for 42 years. So there was a certain level of decorum I was expected to maintain as a PK.
Mhm.
So we would drive to Texas, where they were from, every summer. And
Nacogdoches?
sometimes- and Chris Lufkin,
Oh.
either Lufkin or Nacogdoches, Texas, down in East Texas. And I can remember when we would get around St. Louis, Missouri, or somewhere around there, they would be like, you can't get out to go to the bathroom. The bathroom is around, squat on the side of the road. Some
Mhm.
places where squat on the side of the road, you can't even go in the bathroom. The only restaurant that would serve Black people at that time was Howard Johnson's.
Wow.
we
Remember
always
that?
Yep.
You always ate at Howard Johnson's, and then you always ate in the back of Howard Johnson's.
And they never said it. Mommy and them never said it, but that was the only place we went.
That was the only place you went, and they set you in the back because if white people were driving by, they didn't want them to see that there were Black people sitting in the window.
That's like the episode of Lovecraft.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
you were glad to be able to sit down and have lunch and whatever in the restaurant and not have to go to the back door and get it out of the bag. But you were also aggravated a little by the fact that they always set you in the back, which is why to this day, if we go in a
we sit in a
restaurant
restaurant
Yeah.
and
sit
they
us by
try
the
to take
bathroom
us to
or
the
kitchen.
bathroom or the kitchen, we will snap out.
Yeah.
Older Black women will snap out about that
That's happened.
because
I've seen it a lot.
we remember that. So that's part of where that comes from. And we probably have never told y'all why. but
I
we're-
never knew the why.
we're
I've seen
like-
it more than
Yeah,
times I
yeah.
could ever count. And to this day, though, I feel a way about being seated in the back, anywhere near
Or
the
by
kitchen
the
or the
kitchen,
bathroom,
right.
and I'll pop off, and people are like, "What's your problem?" And in my brain, I'm just like,
I don't
I
know.
was just raised that it's disrespectful
That's
for them
why-
to sit us
and
back
that's
here.
why. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's the reason why. But anyway, saying that to say there was not so much what they said it was a look, it was a body posture,
Mm-hmm.
like the way we're sitting right now. If everybody set up like this and kind of got like, we might have to.
Oh,
We might have to
Mhm.
rumble, so everybody get in position. It was more of a look and a body.
what's your
posture
earliest
kind of thing.
memory of that though? Because like I think for us, like we like, you know, we're the nuck if you buck generation. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like, it can go down.
Mhm.
Even if you're not the person in the group that fights, you usually travel with somebody that
That
got
fights.
hands.
Yeah.
So like, what's your earliest memory of being like, this is that body posture, that
Going
voice,
driving
down
south.
south. So it's normally if you're going down south.
If you're going down south, driving
It's
down
an Emmett Till
south,
situation. It's like,
Going
okay, we're going
to-
to a place that's
Yep.
not our home.
and they act differently here than the way we live.
Mhm.
So you have to make the adjustment, and you're on your way to the bathroom or you're on your way to the water fountain, and now
Like
you're
doing
in a
normal
place,
kid stuff. And now
yeah,
you're
and now
like,
you're in a place that has a white only colored water fountain. My
Yeah.
sister used to always say, "I'm gonna drink out that white fountain. I bet their water tastes different." But it didn't, of course.
Not
But
'cause you
that's
busted.
what my sisters. So it was always, and so since we didn't live that way in Detroit,
yeah, it was
black
mad
people
cooking.
were
That's-
balling in Detroit. They
Yeah.
were working at factories, making money, Motown, the Temptation, all of that is
That's
what
crazy.
I'm looking at as who black people are until we get to Missouri or wherever that line was. But
You felt
you
it.
Yeah.
felt it when
Yeah.
you crossed that line. I think I was probably about 8 maybe when I first realized it.
Yeah.
I'm very weepy these days.
Oh,
Lord.
So no, you talking
me
about that.
tissue.
Feel your
Look,
feels.
look, I
My
do-
iris do be
I
weeping.
I'll have a cry. You saying that I can see my dad now that I'm grown. I can see him. Oh Lord.
Take your time.
Oh, they were my heroes. We used to take family vacations. We drove everywhere. Like we'd get in the
We
station
would
wagon.
have to.
And right. So we'd all ride together. And I can see my grandfather and my dad, who were strong men, strong black men. You know what I mean? And great providers and stuff. But I can see them.
When they get around white men,
They're
they would go from this to yes, sir.
their
They have to
humble
say my
Yes,
postures.
sir. Yeah, yes,
Their
sir.
humble postures.
Yes, sir.
And it was
then
never
showing back in them.
all the way down, but it was a different posture. Or I could see them look at each other. They would look across the car, and I'd see my grandma, my mom, everybody just get in a certain place, and we're in the back talking and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and
But
they tell
I
you
can
be
s-
quiet.
Ooh, in fact, we were all
Right.
together. I wasn't even. I might have been kindergarten, so 4 or 5. We were at a swimming pool, and I thought on the arm. I think we were on the army base in Kentucky. And you make little friends. And I went and jumped in the pool with the little girl that I had been talking to, and jumped in that pool. And I remember my dad's arm coming down in the water and pulling me up. And my dad wasn't rough. I think my dad spanked me one time in my life. And he pulled me. He said, "You can't be in there."
Right.
And he took me over to the blanket, and my grandmother and my mother and my brothers were over there. And I said, "Why?" And he said, "You just can't. You just can't." It was never. It was never.
Don't
It was
ask no
never an
questions.
explanation
You can't.
about it. You just can't. And the little girl was in there just having, are you coming back in? You whatever? And they were like, no, no, no. And my folks never called them crackers, or not like, or even white folks. They used to call them the other ethnic group. That was their.
So pulled up.
That was
The
their
other
right.
ethnic
They said the
group.
other ethnic group. It was never. No, they said that, but the other
Oh my
ethnic.
God.
It was like some people say clear people or the
Yeah,
pilgrims or
we have a
whatever
lot of
you had.
names.
No,
your-
my family called them all the things.
Again,
Texas.
in private,
Yeah.
they called them. They knocked a few back and were calling them everything but the kitchen sink.
I didn't know where you were going.
But there was a
She was like,
Because she said no in private, I said
no,
I
but there was a
please.
certain decorum
Yeah.
that they always kept for their children, my mom and dad.
Mhm.
They weren't big cuss, and as much as I cuss, my mom and dad did not cuss in front of us. They didn't fight in front of us.
Where did you guys get your profanity from? If not from the roots of your lineage.
You know where they got there. You know
Where
where they
did
got
it-
it from.
They didn't.
Because
Got it.
we have inherited a lot.
For sure. And but that's so interesting to know that both of you are such profound cussers. And I think and we could circle to this somewhere else, but I think like I don't know any, but we come from a cussing is
We come
cussers.
from a
But you
good
guys are
line.
such educated and tactful cussers. You know what I mean? Like you guys use profanity with
Well,
intention and punctuation. And I just wonder if it's not where you came from in your homes, then where, because you guys are from separate parts of the world, but yet you guys speak with such color.
Fork tongue.
Hmm So I wonder where was it learned?
I would like to say in the 60s.
Okay.
Period.
Oh.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Across the board in the 60s.
Okay.
So is this
Everything
a
was-
stark rebellion to the 50s, the quorum upbringing,
Oh.
or is this
60s
Black
into the
Panthers,
70s.
60s
like
and in the 70s. Black
Malcolm?
Panthers.
Yes, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
By the time we were
tongue.
saying it loud, I'm black
But
and I'm
I'm
proud.
We were
Then
saying everything.
Yeah.
Loud and
And but you know what?
We're getting around
I was a
bunches.
big cusser in the street. I was a
fast. But not in front of our parents.
but not in front of our parents or
we
anybody else.
never cussed in front of our parents like y'all cuss in front of us.
Not
We
until I
never
got
did.
grown.
No, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Until I got
I
grown.
received that.
And
I
even-
receive it.
And even at grown, I wouldn't go all the way base with mine in front of mommy. I dropped the F bomb and said some things, but I never like we talk. But you didn't cuss in front of other people's parents either. Like if I was on the bus and I was like really on one,
Mm-mm.
like your Cinco de Mayo jig, right? I might be having that moment. But if I looked over there and saw Miss Jessica, I tightened that up. I would
Mm.
never
That's
cuss,
crazy.
and I didn't wild out in front of little children. It was a thing, you know what I mean? There was a respect.
I mean, I still believe that.
You
about the
gotta
baby.
be, you know.
But and I think that's something that we have in Black culture a little bit across the board, because you also sound like the gangbangers being like, we don't shoot up churches and
Everybody gotta have a
playgrounds.
code.
You know what I mean?
Everybody
Like
gotta have a
there's
code.
certain boundaries for everybody's pockets.
I
Everybody
respect
gotta have
that.
a code.
yeah.
OVO, what does that mean?
Not right now.
No,
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
We can't.
I'm sorry.
We can't.
We love you, Kendrick. You're the best.
We'll talk about it after.
We love you, Kendrick.
I've been studying and being.
I'll take you. I'll
On
take
the
you
way
to school
over,
now.
I said-
I'll be
I was
Professor
like,
Jess.
What in the world?
Professor Jess for the beat. Ops.
I've been
Why?
I'm doing a
Mm.
tutorial method.
Anyway.
for that. So that's kind of how we were raised. You know what I mean? To be respectful, to do
How
something
they
over
shoot at us?
here.
They shooting at us already. We
Wait,
were
I'm
raised to
over
be respectful,
here.
unlike
I got
y'all.
one
Something
more.
over
I got
there.
one, and also not only the language, but how you dressed.
Mhm.
There were
Oh,
certain things.
God.
Listen, you have, excuse me, Judy. You have to have a bra on.
And
Used
a
to be a
girdle.
time and a girdle, a panty girdle,
And
not
stockings.
and stockings. I just
All the
stopped
time,
wearing
sorry.
stockings.
You
after
just
were
stopped
born.
asking me if I was about to wear stockings. I was put stuff on to this day in the 2020s and in the 2000s. I was talking about you ain't got no stockings, you ain't got no pantyhose. What?
It's hot.
But it's
No.
smooth. That's for a smoothing. You never want to jiggle. Even that. Listen, you don't. And you don't want to jiggle.
So right,
you
it's
don't want.
so different than now.
You don't want to
It's
I mean,
jiggle.
all about the jiggle.
I would love to jiggle.
You don't want your
Yeah,
jiggle
yeah,
from the
yeah.
top, or your all of this is smooth.
I just don't want my belly to jiggle. Everything else
I want
is
the
fair
belly to
game.
jiggle. Everything else. to jiggle.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is
But
dawn
But
of
that,
a new day.
that was expected. I mean, I remember as a little girl when I got my bra, I also got me a panty girdle, a little panty.
As a child,
Middle
Like,
school.
you got
What
a,
is
little
puberty?
a pamphlet at 10 years old.
Petty pants. I had petty pants, which was like
To
a
wear
slip
where?
on your body.
Where were you
put it
going in that?
Anywhere you
To,
were
to
going.
school.
Anywhere.
I wore
else.
Girl,
slip,
see, it's
a
crazy.
slip and
I got a slip. Yeah, I'm
Got
sorry. I
a
got a
slip on, so you couldn't
Yeah.
see through my dress.
Hmm.
And every time I go through my things to throw things
I
away,
know.
I get ready to fast.
I can't. I got a full slip. You still got? I got a half. I got two halves, a black one and flesh tone,
Yeah.
and then I got a whole. Flesh tone.
You had to have
You
all
had
those
to.
things.
You had to.
No, I
Okay.
I mean, it was ebony. It was the ebony fashion fair. It was the things.
But
where-
y'all just dress differently. Like we were actually talking about that last night or something I was at. We were looking at pictures of people's family members, like, but just during those times, Black people just dressed very,
For
very
sure.
differently. And I don't know if it was because it was in competition to whiteness, right? It was like we
Was
gotta
it
we
in
gotta
competition?
look
Yeah,
better.
have
We
to
gotta look better than them.
and we have to prove that we know how to dress.
Right.
Mhm.
That
We
is
have to
all.
prove.
But
that
I
we
still think
know-
it's based on white standards, though.
yeah.
I think that's
But as we got older, I think we realized our standards might be higher.
That you were
than
already
theirs
so
is.
fly for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Especially when you
yeah,
watch
yeah.
them try to come
Yeah.
so close to what you were doing.
Yeah.
I think that's been interesting to watch. Like in the beginning, it's like we want to be like them, but over time, just watching
Now
so
they
much
don't
like
like it.
Yeah.
blackness being the standard of fly and the
Flying
standard of
excellence.
and fashion and all the things,
Yep.
and then watching them drift so
Mhm.
heavily to try and like
Emulate
emulate
the
with that.
culture.
Absolutely.
But they're not like us. But
Always
yeah.
bringing it back.
So then that's how y'all grew up. I think that's a good
Mhm.
summary summation.
Mhm.
So then how did y'all decide what y'all were and we're not gonna pass on? Because we already have discrepancies. Mainly our mouths, okay.
For sure.
For
For
sure.
sure.
Well, last week we talked about the difference between parenting styles, and we talked about authoritarian parenting and permissive parenting and authoritative parenting. So authoritarian parenting is do what I say,
My
do,
way.
don't ask me
Right.
about it. Children should be seen, not heard, that whole thing.
Is that what kind of parent you think you guys were?
No.
She's
Oh.
she's
So
doing the
we're saying
styles.
that is what the
That's what I was about to
style.
say.
Why
I
is
was
that-
like, you might be
you-
triggered a little
You
bit.
think that?
You think that?
Well, because I heard the list getting ready to go on. and I'm like,
Authoritative. I go ahead.
So being permissive is you do whatever you want whenever you want. You know those kids.
I do know them
They're
too.
also Caucasian.
Yeah, for the most part, you're not coming over our house like you're not acting like that if you here. So
Yeah.
you know that particular kid. But then you have what I think we tried to be was authoritative, which
Mhm.
is a cross between authoritarian and permissive, a blend of that, which says, I'm going to explain to you what the consequences for said actions are. You can choose to do that if you want, but this is probably what is going to be the result
Oh.
of that. So make your choice.
Yes.
I'm gonna be here, whatever you decide,
Yeah.
because we're those parents, but we are trying to give you the ability to make decisions for yourself based on the fact that we are not going to be here with you always, and you should learn how to be autonomous. So authoritative is what I think we tried to do.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think my mother was and father were pretty much authoritative.
Yeah, I think by the 60s, they kind of, 60s and 70s, they
Yeah.
were.
But I also feel like they had to be. Like a lot of it was keeping y'all alive. So that,
Yeah, I was going to say there's
that
some things you
tracks.
just couldn't do.
Right, like
Yeah.
I don't know that they like if they had a if white supremacy in America was and what white supremacy in America was in terms of like is and y'all have lived through like Emmett Till's like y'all
Mhm.
everybody got killed off in the 60s, like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they could have chose a parenting style, that might not have been what they chose, but being that they are like direct descendants of like parenting tactics of slavery, it's like
Mhm.
all of that is authoritative and it's to keep you alive.
Authoritarian.
I mean, sorry, they're authoritarian. And
Yeah,
it's to keep
I
you
think
alive.
they were trying to move that way,
Yeah.
because, all the studies started to come out with, how, I forgot the name of that study, we talked about it on that episode, but how authoritative was the best way to try it. And it's still considered the most ideal way to try to raise children.
Authoritative.
Authoritative.
Yeah, I
yes,
think
And
so.
not authoritarian.
Yeah, authoritarian is Donald Trump, like, it's a fascist state, almost
Dictatorship.
in a dictatorship in your
In your
parenting
parenting
style.
Mhm.
And so we didn't want to do that. But then, here's my question. Do you think that sometimes we swung too far the other way? Like, in terms of not wanting to pass down all the rigid things of the I'll go you one, for example, all the organizations. And some people still do this, but I knew I didn't want to do it. The Jack and the Jills and the this and the, and the debutante balls. I wasn't a cotillion. I was in the debutante ball. I swore I would never make my child be in the cotillion.
Jessica's face is what you say it. You pour hot acid on her.
I mean, shout out to the pageant girls.
Yeah, so I don't know if I should have given her a little of it and let her decide if she wanted it, but I decided we're not doing that. We were off that. So I didn't even expose it necessarily to her. And again, we were in New York by then
Mhm.
or out here. Maybe if we had been in Detroit where I still knew people and still knew people in those organizations or whatever,
Yeah.
it might have been more of a push toward it. But I feel like we had created a whole different bohemian,
Yeah.
Artistic.
artistic kind of a lifestyle with who our crew was
That
at
didn't
that
fit.
time.
I agree.
And all that just didn't go.
You know what's funny?
Shit don't go.
My mother, I wasn't a debutante, nor did we do Jack and Jill or any of that stuff. We didn't do it.
Mhm.
And my mother was a Washingtonian. You know, she was
Drama.
but she never did. We didn't do it. What mommy did though, mommy had a grave respect for education
Yeah.
and learning stuff. So I was exposed to a lot of stuff. Like I took a lot of like puppetry and dance, and they exposed us that way. But and my mother often said to me, I probably should have put you in more classy
Mhm.
things, Iris. I think that's the root of your demise.
Not them
I drove my
minds.
mother that crap crazy because she really was polished. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah,
I,
your
and
mama
I,
was pulled up.
she was a
BB
pulled up,
chick.
fabulous girl,
For
but
sure.
she never, we never did it. Mommy, in the town where we lived, they formed a group of folks, black folks. What were they called? The Black Cultural League, where they brought talent in, like they brought
Mm.
Billy Eckstine in and Ella Fitzgerald
Mhm.
in to the city because Harrisburg was the state capital, but they didn't have anything for black folks. And mommy grew up at the Howard Theater where everybody
Right.
came through,
Everybody.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So she was an innovator in that respect. But I never did the debutante. And again, mommy said
I
later
wish I
in
had.
life, I really wish I'd have done better with you. Like you have a lot of rough edges.
Mhm. I went to charm school.
I see.
Listen, I went to charm school at Saks Fifth Avenue every Saturday morning. It was terrible because I was the only black person. I was the
You went
only
to
black,
Saks to charm school?
only white
Secret
gloves and
stuff.
party manners. That was the name of the program.
White gloves.
What'd you say?
White gloves
and
party
party manners.
manners.
That was the name.
Oh, that's not
of
what I heard. That
Oh,
makes
yeah.
more sense to me.
Party manners. That was the
Alright.
name of the class that I took for
This was
12
for-
weeks. I can still remember that little pink book. It had a binder and it had, this is how you write a thank you note. This is how you,
I can't see how
This-
like,
I
our
remember
faces
that.
are like,
this
what are
is
y'all
how,
talking about?
this
What
is
is
how
this?
you set the table. This is how you invite people to
How
come
old
to
were
your
you?
home. This is how
Well,
you
look like that.
answer
Well, I
the
was
Now
phone.
we're confused.
I was asking how
12.
old was she?
Probably
Okay.
12.
I was trying to think
Oh,
about
okay,
that
okay,
makes
okay.
more sense than an 8-year-old going to a
Charm-
course
charm-
about
yeah.
setting a
I was
table.
somewhere, I think you could start going if you were 10.
Okay.
So it was like between 10 and 16.
Yeah.
This is what this class was. It even had to say one of the chapters in the book was your face shape and how do you do your makeup for your
You know,
face
that's
shape.
so
Oval.
that's
Do you
so
have an
popular
oval
now.
face? Do you have a
That's
square
really,
face?
really?
yeah.
Do you have
TikTok
a
talks about that
track?
all the
all the
time.
time.
Yeah.
Knowing how to dress for your face shape, knowing
Your
how to
body shape.
yes, knowing how to dress for your
Do
body
you
type,
have a hair
knowing what
shape?
kind
Do
of
you
blush
have
to
this?
put
Do you
on
have-
depending on it's like the big thing right now to like look at your
Wow.
body and like tailor
Tailor
appropriately.
to your body.
Mhm.
So that was a whole part of the class. But I can
So I guess
remember
that's
getting
retro.
up
That's not really
on Saturday morning going, but consequently, there is never anywhere I go I feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I can go to a dinner and they can have 15 pieces of silverware on the table, and I know what they all are for
Mhm.
and how to use them and this, that, and the other. So there's a certain confidence that came from all that crazy crap that seems crazy now, but there was just, my mom was just like, and with her dying as early as she did when I was 17, I'm now, of course,
The
glad that
lady
she
of the house.
did all those things because after that, now I'm the lady of the house. And my
Mhm.
dad's a preacher, and there are certain things I have to, decorum wise, know how to do, or all the old ladies at the church are going to be. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
it's just this whole level of expectation that settled on me early to be correct. And I think because I didn't want to pass that on to you, I just was like, whatever.
More or less.
Your mom, our families, like we would eat dinner We ate dinner together at a table. Wow.
6
In-
o'clock every night.
And there was like the breakfast nook off in our kitchen. But then on Sundays,
Yeah.
we'd have forever that I can remember, we'd have dinner in the dining room, and
Yeah.
it would be a set table.
Yeah.
And nobody was dressed in gowns, but Nana would
But it was
cook.
a
She'd
sit
make
down.
rolls. It'd be iced tea. There would be dessert,
Soul food.
and there would be
move.
card tables up because everybody, we lived in
Somebody
DC.
might come over.
Everybody from Mississippi would come up and live. We always had boarders, so people who lived in our houses, and the children would have a table. But we had some Jello mold.
Oh.
And
Oh.
breakfast salad.
Oh my gosh! But they would have it, and and the table would be set.
Yeah.
There was a place for your corn to sit. There would be little
There are dishes for all that
Mhm.
food.
relish, like for your pickles and olives and
Ooh,
things,
that was
and
my job to make the what would now be considered the
charcuterie.
the charcuterie board.
Mhm.
That was my
Board,
job
charcuterie
to
board.
make sure that the pickles and the scallions and
Oh,
the
that's why
beef
you be so crazy about that.
Uh-huh.
You be
This
doing
and
stuff. She's
that.
like, it's not in the right order. And I'm like,
Mhm.
girl,
would
I
all
really don't
be
care.
in the little dish.
And there was something for all of that. I'm ashamed that I have not done.
Yeah, we don't have.
That
We
good.
have family dinners though.
You have
Like,
Our
we
family
have-
dinners are the bomb, but I don't have good linen for my table.
Mhm.
But a lot of that is life circumstance. I
Mhm.
tried to do that,
Mhm.
and then
I do.
they didn't.
I have it.
But how
But-
much of that is artistic though? Like I
Yeah.
feel like
But there's a set of china waiting for you. There's a set of silverware. Your Uncle George has it. He kept it from your grandmother.
And I think yours is probably in storage around
we
here.
have sets of China, bro. Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
okay.
you both do.
Gold silverware.
When we were little, though, how come family Sunday dinner wasn't something you felt strongly about? Because I didn't grow up with we do dinner on Sunday. We really didn't do dinner
We did dinner every Sunday on Terry's, but it didn't look like.
when. Yeah, sure, like in like from like let's say in like
What
the
age are you
2000s.
talking about?
I'm talking about as a little girl. I'm talking about like New York. We definitely
We
weren't
didn't-
having Sunday dinners in New York. We weren't having.
No.
We have supper at 5:45
No.
Y'all
on
were
the
at church
fire
every
escape.
All day. Probably.
Yeah, we were at church all day, and then we come home, and y'all be at that little Tykes table. Well, we had TV trays, which was terrible. My grandmother was rolling in her grave. I didn't even have a dining room table. Instead of a dining room, and again, changing with the times.
Change it with the
Our
times.
dining room
That's
at
true.
180 had
Was a
marble
playroom.
floors. When we first designed that house, it had marble floors with pillars, and it had a dining room table, Harold Moore's picnic table, and I had lace tablecloths. But when you and Leonard Jr. came, it was like we had.
So for context, our mothers lived in the same building in New York. So
We were
y'all
like
lived-
Lucy and Ethel.
it was like living single. You remember how like they all used to be all in each other's apartment, going up and down all the time? That's the millennial reference. But
No,
but
you're
yeah,
right.
so that's how
Y'all
they
lived in the apartment that was like Kyle and Overton, and we lived in the lower apartment that was like
Khadijah and them.
Yeah.
So that's what they're talking about in terms of like they had like a full community of artists, actors, because everybody was in some form of the arts or a
Wow.
participant of the arts. So I think what you guys were saying is even though you had a particular upbringing, I think the artistic, I think somewhere in the back of your consciousness, right, there was some, especially in the 60s, a shift to being like a lot of that were things that were attributed to whiteness, I think. And I think there subconsciously was something about like, we don't have to be trying that hard and we can let some of that go.
Yeah.
I think on a subconscious level.
absolutely.
Then I think if you couple in, y'all moved to New York in the 80s,
We were broke.
right?
Yeah.
Tell the truth, we shamed the devil. We
In
were
the 80s,
broke.
90s,
Whoa.
this is the crack era, right? Reaganomics. So I think there was just places for that to be let go, period. So then when it came to raising us, an old millennial and a young millennial, what are the things that y'all felt like y'all like let go, or you were fine? Like some of the things you're saying, like we just
Yeah,
decided
like
you wasn't doing debutante balls, but when y'all moved to LA, like we did start doing family dinner, like that became like a thing.
And we had Onyx when we moved to New York. Onyx Village.
What?
I mean,
Onyx
not
was in New
no,
York.
not in New York.
Oh.
I'm sorry. When we moved here to California, that's when we started having Onyx Village.
So Onyx Village, context. Onyx Village was a group that a lot of the Black actors and
It was an episode
musicians
about it
and
on Blackish.
yeah, it was a pilot episode of Blackish, which they sort of was like making fun of. But it was this group of all these Black kids who had lived in LA, whose parents have been transplants from New York, and they're all various actors that we can name and people now. But it was to make sure that their kids knew about Black heritage, could connect to other Black kids, because
You weren't here yet.
when you come out here, yeah, this is the old millennial tribe. When you come out here, you are usually living in spaces and places where it's a lot of white people, or your kids are going to school with white kids. They're usually the only Black kid in the class. So this was a place for all the families who had known each other in New York. Once they transplanted out here, their kids could all sort of grow up together. So we had like, that was like my crew of those people who we all were on the older millennial side. But they would take us to like artistic events. We had to write a passage ceremony that our parents had put together for us. So it was just a way to connect. And if you have seen that Blackish episode, my friend was one of the creatives that brought that up. So bring that up for context. But you came after that kind of situation.
But there's still, but what carried on,
Mhm.
it might not have had linen tablecloths and,
Right.
and cloth napkins.
Right.
But we always gathered and ate. Our house always, look,
It
Uncle
just looked
Robbie,
different,
Aunt,
for
it looked
sure.
different.
For
But we
sure.
always,
Absolutely.
And that might be because
I was
Naldi.
speaking to the structure of we sit down in this breakfast nook weekly, or we sit at this table with these table set. I was speaking specifically to the fundamental structure of that. But it was like a moving, traveling band of joy and
Gypsies.
family.
Yeah,
Sincerely, it would be this
gypsies.
person's house, this person's house, this
Because you're
person.
artists,
We've
yeah.
always had a hosting spirit. We've always come together and had food and punch. Forever and always. That's always been
a cool
a
beverage.
constant, for sure. Absolutely. That has been a fundamental of my childhood. I was just specifically speaking to like it having to look like one thing as opposed to a life where it
I
looked
never
like
did
whatever
that.
with whoever and always being open.
So how do we feel that let's rate them as parents? How do they do as mothers? I mean, I think, I can totally
Excuse me, let me get my flask.
That's what I
To top off.
I can totally see the cultural differences, right? So when you're talking about millennials, right? I'm an 80s baby, you're a 90s baby.
Mhm.
So a lot of the culture that we are raised in, though we have like since our parents are older too, I think it's something to be said about like our parents were not babies having babies.
For sure.
So we are a little bit of a blend of that old school tradition, but then we're also very much raised by hip hop, right?
Yeah.
We got the 2000s era, right? So, but I think we're predominantly raised by hip hop culture. So I think we're a little more almost children of the 60s, and that we are very rebellious, very brash.
Mhm.
We're very like in your face with it. But we also have older parents who taught us how to like have respect, and not no disrespect to people, young parents. But I think it's something to be said about our parents were mature or maturing adults. They weren't babies having babies. So I think we have an
That's a good
interesting
point.
blend of like we could go in those spaces. We might not know. We've been at places where we like, girl, what's all these forks and these knives? And like that kind of thing. And I think when they try to teach us that, we was like, girl, we don't even need to know all this. And then we'll be in spaces and we'll be like, I think we kind of know. Like we know enough to be like, you start from the outside.
Take our way
and then you
through,
go on the
for
inside.
sure.
Like we know how to have those kind of conversations. So I think we know how
And
to
we
like,
were older. I
code
was
switch.
32 when I had you.
I was
36.
You were
Wow.
36.
Yeah.
So yes, we
I
were
was-
older.
And I don't realize what a big age gap that is even between like mother and daughter until I talk to other people who's like a couple of my girlfriends, their moms are only 16 years older than them. That is very different. Your mom just in her 40s, like if my homegirl's in her 30s, your mom being in her 40s, you guys even as mother and daughter having very different conversations because your mom's experience is different. I was talking to this guy the other day and he's like, yeah, my grandma about to turn, what did he say? My grandma about to turn 50. No, he said my grandma's about to turn 56. I said, your grandma's about to turn 56? I said,
My mama is.
My
mama
turned
on my
56.
hood.
I said, oh no, your mom. I said, oh no, your mom. And he said, no, mom. He said, no, my granny about to have her 56th birthday.
Oh
I
my
said,
God.
oh. I said, well, how old is your mom? He said, oh, my mom, whatever all the gaps were like, his mom and his grandma both had them at like 15 or like 14.
Yeah, babies
like
have babies.
their whole family is close. So So I was like, oh my gosh. I said, well, your granny is like however many years junior of my mother. And he said, oh,
Wow.
I said, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we had not the what's the last parenting style?
Authoritative.
I feel like you probably feel like you have some authoritarian moments.
For sure.
I think Pam, you tried to instill some authoritarian moments with me.
I'm sure.
There are things I literally remember being like, that was, it's not abusive, but I was like, oh, she was trying to
Put
flex
her
on
foot
me.
down.
That
Yeah,
was-
like,
she was trying to flex on me that day. But for the most part, I was a pretty like, I was a pretty agreeable child, I think. I think I was agreeable.
Yeah, and you know what? And I thrive in accountability. So what I'm gonna say is I thrive in accountability. So I can say,
but we just can't say the F word. That's a hard. Go ahead.
but what I was gonna
I have
say,
a response for that.
but you didn't even let me. You didn't even let me say it yet.
Finish it.
I will take the accountability in. Yes, I might have been parented a little rougher because I was a little rough myself, and some of my behavior did warrant a very specific kind of parenting. Yes. So here, that's what I'm saying about accountability. I will say that. Was I ever disrespectful to adults? No, that wasn't my drink of choice. I wasn't out here doing that. Was I tap dancing on wicker tables and putting my finger into outlets and dragging her second born child down the stairs by his eyelashes? Probably. Did those
you
things?
gotta know your kid. We talk about that all the time.
That kind of behavior, and I would be like, I want to try everything. I want to grab this microphone and flip it over and see if I can put all the pieces back together. Maybe not.
That's a
It
curious
was
child.
more of that, I think. And I think that kind of behavior did warrant a, I'm gonna knock your block off in about 2 seconds if you keep playing with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to knock your block off. But to
Yes.
your point, there was always conversation. It wasn't like you just walked in the room like, good morning. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
I see you've woken up today and chosen you're gonna live this
Violence.
way. Yeah. I
Violence.
see you've woken up in this. Keep it up. And then it's gonna be me and you. And I'd be like, no. And she'd be like, all right, I think it's about to be me and you. And then it would be me and her.
And
You know
then
what I
it
mean?
would be.
But to your point about conversation, and it wouldn't just be like, I said, don't have laughter or joy today.
Yeah.
Shut up and go
Yeah.
do your multiplication
Shut
tables.
up.
It
Yeah.
was never that. It wasn't shut up and put on these shoes and walk out the door.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I think my mom was to your question, I think my mom was a fantastic mom. My mom really loved being, oh, please. My mom really loved being a mom. And I think that was so interesting. Even when you're listening to like how your parents parented you, I think also your parenting style shifted a little bit because you ended up being a stay-at-home mom. And so your devoted job was to parent. It was to mom. And you like, to my experience, you genuinely enjoyed doing it. Like I had a mom that put like notes with lipstick on it in my lunch every single day. Or like during the summer was like, I don't want to send you to summer camp. We're gonna have summer camp here. Let's do we did things. She was a very hands-on mom. And so like, no, I wasn't in those kinds of things, but we were going to museums and like we would try track, hate that. We tried soccer, hate that. But we like tried every activity a kid could try and experience, and we did things. And that kind of like family and parenting worked really nicely for me. Did I get whoopings? Hell yeah. But were most of them
Had to
well
get that in there, didn't you?
for sure.
Wooden spoons.
Yeah.
Wooden spoons. You know about the wooden spoon?
I remember the wooden spoon.
For her.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get a wooden spoon.
I got the
Everybody
wooden spoon.
watched me
Nah.
get whooped with all the things.
Yeah.
And I'm
You never did.
the oldest of two, so we used to have this Tweety Bird paddle.
Oh, I
Like
remember
the
those.
string came off, and my mom used to call it the rod of correction. And so she'd be like, y'all in here acting up,
You
and
know
I'm,
the Bella Bear.
Yes,
I know,
the-
but
the-
still,
the-
it's
the-
Tweety Bird on it.
she'd be like, I'm gonna get the rod of correction, and we'd be like, no. But after we got a certain age, it didn't hurt anymore. So she'd be like, I'm gonna get it. We'd be like, oh my God, no, not that. And then she'd come in and she'd be waxing us, and we'd be like, ow. But we'd be lying because it didn't hurt for real. And then she'd leave, we'd be like, got it. And then one day, Leonard, my brother, he's just silly. She's whooping us, and we're like, no, stop.
And he said,
Dummy,
don't
he
even
doesn't even hurt anymore. I said, would you
Shut
say
up.
that?
giving away secrets.
Why would you say that to her? What's wrong with you? So then she found something new. And now the statute of limitation is, you can't get in trouble for this now. It's like to tell the people that you hit us.
I don't think
I don't like whooping. Like I don't like that. Like I don't move with
you
that
are
kind of energy.
so logical.
I am.
You are so
Mm.
logical and so you're not
I'm
impulsive.
calculating. I will think about it
Yeah,
all the
you're
way
not
through before
impulsive.
I do it.
You don't
Or
lead
don't do
with
it.
your feelings. You don't like you can convince yourself this is a stupid idea and I'm not going to do this.
Because I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, so you have always been that way, even when you were little, just in terms of playing and cleaning. I mean, you know.
Do you also think I was born premature? Do you also think
3
that
months premature?
3 months premature? Do you also think because I didn't get the attention that normal babies get when they first get out that I, like you talk about me
Yes,
learning how to
I've always
self-soothe,
said
like
that.
I was self-soothed before I got, like I
Yeah.
just had to be a little more independent. Than,
Yeah, I've always
the
said
average
that
baby.
because in the hospital, when you're in the intensive care unit, if you cry, they don't come to get you. They don't come to pick you up because that means your lungs are working. You have enough oxygen and you're breathing. They only come to get you if you beat. So by the time she got out of the hospital from that 3 months of being there, she was supposed to be born in September. She was born in June. So she stayed in the hospital from June to September.
Wow.
And so by the time she came home, she was not a big crier. She was not a big, pick me up. Oh, I need this attention. And so since I didn't have to do it, our relationship was always kind of conversational, but it was never
Super touchy. mushy.
super mushy or whatever. Because she didn't
I
come
didn't
home
want
like
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I didn't
You
want
just
that.
didn't seem like you needed it. It's always been conversation between us. Like,
For the better or the worse.
yes, indeed.
Always conversation.
I can remember you being in a stroller. We'd be shopping in New York, and you'd be like, "Hey, are we getting any coffee for tonight or
I
whatever?"
remember that.
I don't
and
drink coffee now because I drank coffee as a child.
Yeah,
Me
and
too.
you would be like,
Out of
"That
bottles.
coffee smells." Yeah.
I
So
was
it's
born an
always
adult.
been kind of a little mini adult
Really a person.
relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true.
So yeah, I feel like and I think we both what we're saying is we both have moms who like saw us as people and like always tried to figure out like who are they raising. You know what I mean? It wasn't like y'all never tried to like vicariously live through us or
Yeah.
like make us do stuff. Like y'all always were like, who is this person that God has given me and how can I best lead them? Like I feel like that's always the thing.
Yeah.
And I can
1,000%.
remember being young, especially in the stages where I was just being a jerk, just for puberty's sake. I watched a lot of TV, like I watched a lot of Moesha, so I thought like that's how my life should play out. I very quickly like decided that's not the path I wanted to go. But I remember like you guys like y'all used to make us talk on the phone, and I remember used to being like, why am I talking to this baby on the phone? Like, what is this?
You'd
But
be like,
y'all
your
would be
cousin Jessica
y'all-
was on the phone. You want
yeah,
to
you'd be
talk?
like, come talk, and I would be like, oh my god, I don't want to talk. Like, cause she would just be like, hi, and Joy was always been very like womanish. Like she just always want to be like in your business, like know your stuff. So I used to be like whatever. But I remember you two will always be on the phone. Like y'all will always be like, Jessica's dealing with this, and Joy's acting up, and da 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 da. So before you guys. So they had like a long distance friendship where they were in New York, and then finally the Thomases moved here, and they were back together. But for like I want to say like a better part of a
6 or
decade,
7 years.
maybe
At least.
More.
At least
More.
No,
Joy,
10.
You
I
left
say
It's 10
How
years
old were you?
because 10.
10
You
years.
moved here when you were 10, and
10,
I
yeah.
left
When
When I was
left.
born. So
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
so yeah.
Wow.
So I remember like y'all having like
But
2,
we
3 hour
talked
conversation.
Yeah.
every day.
Every day,
All
all day.
day long. We did.
and like giving each other advice and like all that kind of stuff. So I think that's important. How do you think that has shaped like our relationships with other women? Like I think when I think about it, sometimes people ask like they'll come around the family because like we invite our friends to like the
Stuff.
cookouts, the family. Like we're never like, oh, you can't come with our family.
We're
Or,
very
like,
generous with our family.
yeah, or
I
we're
would say
like
for sure.
which I think is very different. And I think maybe some millennials and down they might be embarrassed of their parents, especially if they grew up like them and their parents grew up together. There might be some things like they don't want their friends to see, or they like, how like some
Yeah.
people are like, don't ever come around my family, right? Like we're
Yeah.
not the same. Like if I meet you and you come to Thanksgiving, you come to Christmas, like we're
And I think
very,
and as women also, we both have really lovely relationships with our mom. And I don't think I realized how foreign that was
to other people.
to other people
I
because like most of my intimate female relationships all also have really
Relationships
solid
with my mom.
relationships with their moms.
Yeah.
So I don't think I know all about most of the dads, but I didn't really but that's common. But I didn't know as
For
much
none of
about
us.
women
Men.
having problems with their moms.
Mhm.
So you know what I mean? People are like, you and your mom are so close. I'm like,
girl.
I'm like, yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
you told your mom that? And I'm like,
Yeah, girl.
yeah.
Yeah.
Top to bottom. She knows all about when you did such and such. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe you told your mom that. I'm like,
She don't
yeah,
care.
Iris is cool. Like, it's
She don't
fine.
care.
But I didn't realize, but sincerely, like, what a distant thought that is
It
for
is,
people
yeah.
that don't have that. So
Yeah.
to like your point of bringing people around where that feels like such a normal
It's
thing, like they're
normal.
not people we're ashamed of. Like, we're so excited for people to know them. Like the fact that one of my best friends is having a baby. And so our baby bash was all these people like in the backyard dancing and singing. And they were like, yeah, your mom and your aunt just stayed like the whole time. And I was like, yeah,
Like,
we
this is
do,
what
we do this.
That's
You know what I mean?
us. Yeah.
And for the most part, I don't ever also feel as an adult like I have to act one way around my family that I wouldn't.
we
I'm
don't
pretty
feel
much
that
the same
Mhm.
person.
consistently.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think there is a, yes, we talk about like the fact that we cuss with you guys and stuff, but I
Which
think
my friends were very freaked out about. Like I had like some friends who were like, "Why do you cuss around your mom? Like y'all cuss in front of y'all
I
family?" And we
know.
were like, "We supposed to act different with our parents? Like
Right.
we can't be real with our parents. Who we gonna be real with?"
and there's a, I think there's we have pillars and little sprinkles of like respect and polish that I think we've worked hard to try and chisel. So like the cussing isn't irreverent, it's passionate. Sometimes
Right. in
it's potent.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's never
You know when I asked y'all, could you just not cuss on Sunday?
yeah.
Yeah, we were like, we'll try.
One day where
Just
y'all
please, just
don't.
Don't go
you know,
on Sunday.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say that speaks to I think there's something really freeing and lovely about the ability to be consistently the same version of myself with my family versus with my friends versus that's something I think I'm appreciative of.
And we've always had, I think, in the like artistic, because we're not blood family, but we are family by choice and like family by heart.
Yeah.
But we like in our generation, like we've all adopted, like you don't embarrass the family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to us, we like, so what? We
Most
cuss in
of
front, like most
of
of us.
Yeah,
Most-
not go there.
We don't
This
have
is
time.
empty.
That's why I said this needs to really
This
be
is
liquor.
empty.
Yeah.
God.
But yes, it's one of those things of like, and I think because we are artistic family, we do have people at very different, various pockets of the industry.
Mhm.
Like we've always been like, yeah, you might see us like we drinking, we cussing, we having a good time, but we're never like embarrassing the family. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
the point where somebody would be like, yeah, so I saw your niece and they was whatever, you're doing something wild that if it got back, that if it got back, y'all would be like, we didn't raise y'all like that. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, if we were doing that, something has gone
We'd have
wrong.
intervention.
Right, yeah, like something like we just
Yeah,
couldn't be
yeah.
out here like that. What do you think, like, our mother's friendship, but also Auntie Terry, like, there's some people who are like not a part of this conversation.
Mhm.
But I think even my approach to female friendships, there was a time that I just was like, I didn't believe in them. My discipleship group helped me, but I think being in our relationship too. But I think seeing women who get along with each other, like
Mhm.
they hang out with each other, like there's never no smoke, like they're not tripping about like Kelvin looked at you, like Skeeter looked at you, like they don't all that like cat. You know what I'm saying? We're like
Yeah.
in our generation, people do that.
They
like,
do.
Oh, you was talking to my baby daddy. You know, it's
Yeah.
Degrassi. That's important. But we're like everybody.
OVO.
Iris, please.
We're like where everybody is like, you know, community pain or community. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
y'all never had.
I've never
issues.
had a fight with family. We've disagreed.
But like it's never been like I'm not talking to like I don't even
Never.
no more. Like y'all
Ever.
have never been
Ever.
those people,
Ever.
and y'all have weathered like a lot of life circumstances. So
For
do you?
years worth.
Yeah. Do you think about like that when you're like choosing friends or like hanging out with people or being like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
squashing beef, like you know what I mean with people when it
Yeah.
occurs or disagreement?
I think I think it's a blessing and a curse. I think
Interesting.
sometimes on one hand, I will tell people I'm not hurting for friends. I got a whole lot of family. Cause that's just
That's a
true.
t-shirt.
I'm not
That's a
just
bar.
in the business of just collecting friends
right
just to have
because,
friends.
yeah.
I have excellent friends and I have excellent family. And most of my family are also my friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we do life together in such intimate spaces that I also do with my friends. I feel like the two kind of overlap a
Right.
little bit for me. So I also think my standard for what female relationships are supposed to look like is very specific.
Mhm.
And when it does not feel like that, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm out.
okay, well, I'm really big on that. So I think that is my blessing and my curse, which I'm accountable because I thrive in accountability. I think that is my blessing and my.
There's a-
You
there's
guys
a-
know-
I think there's more to this.
Yeah.
This is my microphone personality.
Yes.
Oh,
That's it. Okay, all right. So she putting on. That's what she said.
This is my
She
yeah.
putting on.
This is my pocket. But no,
Cool, cool.
with that being said, though, I think I feel very specific about female relationships based on the standard of how
When
the
you've been
women in our
exposed to it.
family, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't look like that or it doesn't feel like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't like this. Thank you. And then I walk away from them.
Yeah, we don't do toxicity. We don't do like hating on each other. Like
Mm-mm.
we've never seen it. Like we don't even. I see it on reality shows, but I'd be like, this can't. Who are these people? Like
What
they
is
don't.
this?
They don't operate. And I
Yeah.
think to your point, I think what you're alluding to is like we've almost been spoiled. Like we've had such good quality people in our lives. You ever take a few blips in the matrix, but that's on them, not us. They fell off the wagon.
Yes.
The family standard. That's on them. Okay. They're not like us. But I feel like we've been so spoiled with the quality of people that we've had just in our extended circle in general. That sometimes it's hard to make friends. Like, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
some of those other girls our age come out of that
Yeah.
level of toxicity, like they mama and their grandmama didn't get along, or they aunties, or like they all beefing. So sometimes we get out here and we try to be friend people, and we be like,
And that and the hybrid of also that Hollywood is a weird place anyway.
Correct.
Those
Yeah,
two
people come
things
out here very
together,
extra.
like we don't even live in like Chicago or like DC.
Like there's
or,
an industry.
you know what I
town,
mean?
there's
We live in a,
transplants.
it's very already the ick of the industry
yeah.
in tandem with that.
Right.
So I think and we're also in the industry, in
Right.
this industry city. And I think the mixture there, and also with them being our moms and growing up in the industry, and also seeing how they have had to navigate dealing with industry people, also makes me deal with not only just women, but women in the industry a very specific way.
Mhm.
Even how I navigate in that space, because we have family in such varying spaces. I know what genuine industry relationships look like. I know what kindness looks like just because you woke up today, and I know what kindness looks like just because you work
Right.
on this show or you know
Right.
this person.
Right.
And I think that also has very much so influenced how I navigate
Facts.
relationships too, because I'm going to show up the same way regardless of if you work for the Metro or if you do this or you do that. But I also know what it smells like when that's not how you're
Right.
showing up here either.
Because I feel like we grew up with working class people.
For sure.
period. So we respect all working class people. Being an actor is working class. Like there's a level to it, right? But I do think it is like, yeah, we have a certain level of respect, and we know what industry. Like there's people they don't mess with to this day that are like industry people. You know what I mean? And the family had a reputation for that, right? For them
Mhm.
being like, this person is too Hollywood. So I think we grew up in Hollywood, but we're not
Of Hollywood. I agree.
and I think people are very surprised, right, when they like, and we don't advertise like that.
When they
we-
find out who all
yeah,
you
when they find out who all
Yeah.
we know, and they're like kind of like starstruck or whatever, and they're like, you know, this person, they so cool. Y'all are just regular. Like we're like, yeah, because that's how we were raised. And I don't know if that came with us from New York, but I
Yeah.
also feel like people in LA, like
Yeah.
I'm talking about natives of LA, are like that though. They're just regular working class family people. So I think you said it's the transplants. But I think to the point though, as it is the transplants. LA natives will say that all the time. They're like, it's a transplant. But I also think to the point that we've actually been able to offer a healing space to a lot of people too. because
I
of that.
agree 1000%.
Because we know like our moms are gonna take care of your uncles. Our uncles might ride you, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Uncle Kevin. But like it's all in love, you know what I mean? So I feel like they gave us a nurturing space, therefore we give that out to other people.
1000%.
Like all of our friends, all of our, whether they come from broken home, most of them come from some form of broken home, right? And we all have had our family issues. But like our goal is to always lead in love, bring people in with love, like our holiday parties, all that stuff. We just try to lead with love.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, ma'am.
You all are unicorns, and so are we. My mother used to say, but all of our family said that. Shout out to Julian that's here. Just
Shout out to
listening.
Julian. Thank you, Julian.
Shout out to Julian who
Thank you,
is over there
Julian.
going,
Letting
who
us
are these
converse.
dames? We're unicorns. The friendship, our family, what God has knitted together is unique. we love each other more than a lot of brothers and sisters don't love
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And there are layers of all kinds. Yes, and much of it has to do with the industry because that's where our lives intersected. But how we chose to love and what God has done over the years, when you talk about friendship, family for 40 years, and all the different phases of life, from being young brides to new mommies to preemie babies to burying parents to all the things, really marinates and makes a friendship and a family that is undeniable. You grew up with it. And so this kind of love, and not to mention, all of us wacky people love Jesus on top of that.
Yeah.
And so have to have God in the mix of all of this, and we're in all of these places, and so we're seeing God and his love and his power in these unusual places. I looked at you all the other night at Shantice and Daryl's party, and I got so full looking at you all. I said, there goes our adult children in a community, a loving community of really cool people. It was an artistic vibe. Again, it was very familiar to me.
Yeah.
And I said, God is establishing a community of people. And the babies were running around like y'all used to run around through our parties and stuff like that. And I said, there it is, it's happening again. And you know how to live in that place. And so much of it, your love, your how long it lasts and all that kind of stuff will last as you all go through these things y'all are going through right now, from jobs and breakups and singleness and having babies and all that. And so I look at you and I looked the other night and I said, oh, they're gonna be all right. And they're a group of people with your unicorn selves that you're called to, where you're gonna be very valuable because you know it works.
Yeah.
Love never fails. We don't quit on each other. You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I looked at y'all and I said, oh, we did all right. We did all right.
We gonna be all right.
They go OVO.
No.
We're gonna. But you.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think so. Like,
I just want to know where OVO is.
It's not a place. It's a gang.
Oh.
You're saying gang terminology on the podcast.
Anyway,
shout out to Top Dog.
Good God.
Shout out to PG, right? We're on the side, right?
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm not on the side. I'm just trying to understand what.
But you're calling out his gang.
She don't know. It's okay. It's okay.
Snoop Doggy Dog, Bow Wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Then
Just ask him, please.
Anyway, so we're not mothers. We're not wives.
I get so excited every time the doctor says, "Any chance you're pregnant?" I go, "No,
absolutely not."
He asked me the same thing.
Iris, please.
And
the answer is
no.
no.
And we were actually watching the TED Talk about this the other day, about how our generation just hasn't. We might be a little angry, a little bitter, a little disappointed. That some of those milestones we haven't really been able to have and enjoy at the ages that our parents did, just because.
But y'all
being
not 36.
People left us a crappy world.
Being
No,
mom,
I'm just trying. Like, you know how you talk to people. I am 30. You know how you talk to people who they're like, we're not getting married. I can't afford that.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't afford that. Kids, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
We like, are we gonna have a house? Like,
Yeah.
we're not gonna have Social Security. Like, we just have inherited a crap world.
For
You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that stuff, it's a delay, but it's also like, I don't know if that's gonna happen for us, and we're fine with that. Like, we're like, it's cool. But that being said, we still do have nieces, nephews, goddaughters, etc. So like, I know you have a godson that you're very close in raising. What things from what we got do you think you're instilling into them? Like, how do we as millennials, like, we've had baby boomer parents who have taught us, some things, right? But how are we going to perpetuate that down to the next? I think we talked about it with our friends, for sure.
Absolutely. I think also, first of all, I just want to say the gift in having a mother who had me a little bit older, who had me at 36 and had Lennon at 37 is, I feel like my shot clock is very different. I feel like a lot of my homegirls are like flipped out about, I'm 31,
my
I'm
eggs are
29.
dying.
I don't feel that pressure at all. Like, I'll be 31 next month, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, girl, like, oh, you're 31. I feel no personal imminent danger about not having a husband or a house or a baby. I don't feel that because I've seen what that looks like and that you can do it later. And I'm really enjoying like the now space. And so to your point about loving other people's kids, it really gives me the freedom to be like the cool, fun,
and then you get to give
rich
them back.
auntie,
I've
and
always
then
said that. And
I
then you
hand
get to
them
give
back over.
Did you say cool rich auntie?
Yeah, cool
Come
rich
on,
auntie
rich
too.
auntie.
It's also part of my stop kidding. But I'm really big on respect is the big thing that I think I get from the boomers. I think there's a little bit more of like a free flow of letting kids just be now. That is one of the big things from our parents' generation that I just don't rock. Like nobody wants to whoop their kids. Fine. I got plenty of whoopings for all of us. You guys don't want to whoop. That's okay.
You took them off.
But I do find, especially with my godson, I'm like, hey, okay, you don't want to knock his block off, but he ain't gonna come in here and kick grown-ups and spit and tell us what he's not gonna do. So what's the pivot? So what's the plan? You know what I mean? So his parents have established like how they parent and what they want to do. So when I'm talking to him, or if we're like in a group with a bunch of people and they're like, oh my gosh, hey sir, shout out to sir, hey D. They'll be like, hey sir, and like sir will go, and he won't answer, and everybody be like, oh, there goes sir, and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, hey, no one else has to talk to sir, but just because of how the fabric of my ancestry,
it's in my DNA.
you got to at least respond to me because I'm a grown up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a grown up, and
we never got to
and I'm a
adults.
trusted authority figure in your life. I'm not a random grown up. I'm not a random this. If I'm a stranger, I'm his godmom. He calls me Gotti. I'm Gotti. Or if I'm a teacher or I'm a this, you can't just not speak to me because you don't feel like it. You know what I mean? So those are like the little random like nuggets of like respect. Even like any of my friends' kids. And when I watch them talk to their kids and their kids just ignore grown-ups, I think that's the only time where my spirit's like, I just don't come from a world where you can just ignore grown-ups. And it does look different now. You don't pop kids just because that's not that. But I think there is still a level of decorum and respect. And if we don't talk about it while they're 2, 3, and 4, they're going to be 6, 8, 9, and 10. And it will have like manifested, I think, in a different way. And I think that can look like a bunch of different things that their parents get to handle. I'm not their parent. I'm their extended family loved one. But I do think that is my one pillar where I'm like, hey, check this out. Because Pammy also has been that to me. Like Pammy has seen me talk crazy to my mom, and Pammy has been my auntie to pull me to the side and be like, "Girl, what you doing?" Yeah. She'd be like, "What we not gonna do?" Yeah. And also, your parents are humans. Our parents are humans too. And I think, like as an adult, you don't really realize that. When I think about the fact that you were 36, that you were, how did you say 32? Mm-hmm. That's how old our contemporary. That's our ages now. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, we didn't have any grace for them. They were just, they were just girls. They were
like,
just.
If I had a kid now, I would.
That's what the podcast says. How are you a woman raising a woman? But sometimes
you don't realize that.
A girl,
you don't realize that until I'm just now going, oh my God, I can't believe my mom was only 36 dealing with X, Y, and Z. And sometimes your parent, you just think like, this is my mom. She's supposed to know everything. And it takes your auntie sometimes to be like, she's a human. Your mom is a human and she's actually having a horrible day and you're being a little troll. You know what I mean? Like, cut it out. So I feel like I also had really good aunties that were trusted voices. So I think I also take pride in like, yes, taking the things from my mom, but also just taking it from like my aunties also, because I had excellent extended family and really wanted to show up for my nieces and my nephews in that way too, as support to their parents who are also my chosen family.
Yeah, facts. I feel the same way.
That's good.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there on that. And then I think for both of you guys, actually, I always treat little kids like people. Like when I babysit them, I'll be like, oh, we don't know goo goo gaga time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I used to have the Heinz kids like cleaning the house. Like I was like, they're not about to be clean the house. Like let's fold some clothes. Like let's be a contributing member of this household, right? She would probably say sometimes I'm good at that, sometimes I'm not. But that's fine. Maybe that's my own judgment. But whatever. I'm better than I used to be. Okay. But yeah, always trying to acknowledge kids' free will, not to get crazy, but to be like, you are a human that's growing up. So even with my nieces and nephews, like, I want to know what you think about this. Like, I want to know, what are your emotions? How are you cycling and breaking things down, right? I don't want to just be authoritarian with you.
Mhm.
I think we've learned the goal is authoritative.
Is the goal for
It's the
sure.
goal, if you can.
If you can. That's the goal.
The other one is really how white kids grow up, and like we just culturally, we're not doing that. Like, we might ask you some things, we're not gonna ask you everything. And so yeah, I think it's good. I think we've downloaded a lot of things. I hope y'all are proud of yourselves and what you've accomplished and done as individuals and as aunties. And yeah, this is the last question we asked. What does create generational wellness mean to you? In your own words, when you hear that, what do you think about? As we close.
I think being able to talk about how you feel and the ability to communicate it is important. I think that's generational wellness to me. And I can say to you, this is how I feel. You can say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Go sit down in the corner. I might have gotten that, no, you're not going to, but to be able to hear each other. I heard some, to the whys of it. And there's always there's a time for everything. And I think the older I've gotten, I've seen it. Joy and I can have some marvelous conversations now. She's of age where she can take some of the stuff and the information about me that I'm this way. And likewise with my mother, I would say, well, why do we have to do such? She said, I was afraid. I didn't know what I was doing. But Jesus, I wanted to keep you safe. I didn't know anything about what you were doing. And I didn't know how. I didn't know. All I knew was this. And so I did the best I could. And so that kind of conversation is good. And I think I'm most touched when we talk about generational wellness, when you talk about the aunties. I'm so happy that Joy had you. I'm so happy that she had Terry. I'm so happy she had Amy. What would our lives be without Amy? You know what I mean? There are things, and I know a lot of people are possessive with their kids. Like, I don't know, you can't speak to my child, and you can't, don't call her mama, don't call. No, please. I know that the other women outside of my mother, who is the best mother in the whole wide world, but there were other women I would sit with and talk, and they would give me stuff that mommy had no idea about that stuff. The first drink I had with a grown person, and sex talk. My mother wouldn't talk about riding a rodeo. I didn't know anything about what her and my dad did sexually. You know what I mean? But I had other women that told me stuff that I and I was equipped. It left me equipped. I'm an equipped woman. You know what I mean? So
we almost got out of here.
Nope.
So that's generational wellness, the community of aunties and mothers willing to share and communication. That's what I hear.
Who I call Erin. If you heard me call her Erin, it's an
both.
inside joke. It's Joy and Erin. But go ahead, Erin.
I think my button for this and my button for the thought, and what I think is so special about what you guys are doing in this platform across the board anyway, I think that we as millennials, and we just in this space, are the sum total of the generation before us. And I think that we are a representation of all of the things that you guys have poured. And I love the Children's Museum. And there's this like water thing at the Children's Museum where like it's this like thing of water, and it pours down, and then it hits a ramp, and it pours down, and it pours down, and it pours down, and it pours down. And I think that that's what this feels like, and establishing the overflowing amount of love and information and culture. And even we laugh about like not knowing where silverware goes on a table, but like, or being a crazy person on the rooftop for Cinco de Mayo. But I think my ability to also have conversation and be in right spaces and feel confident in vocabulary and in who I am in a production space or in a corporate space or in a workspace is also such a representation of the rooms and the things that you guys have poured into us. And also my ability to have fun and talk about a kindred beef and pop, lock, and drop it and do all the things. I feel like I'm a chameleon and well-oiled, yes, in so many spaces because of that and because of our openness through generational exchanges. So I just want to do a better job of instilling that same thing in the nieces and in my friends and my cousins' kids too, because that's what I had, and I feel so fortunate for that.
Good spot to end.
This has been a conversation, a truthful chat, if you will. We hope you'll come back next week. You ain't gonna know if you're not subscribed. You know what to do. subscribe on YouTube, okay? Facebook, fan base. Am I missing one? Facebook, fan base.
YouTube,
Fan base.
Instagram,
Facebook, fan
fan
base.
base.
Yes, all
Mhm.
the things. We are at Create Generational Wealth on all of the platforms. So come
And
check for us.
Instagram.
And IG, thank you.
And
Did I not say
Instagram.
IG?
No, you did not.
I did not
Okay.
say IG. Thank you. At Create Generational Wealth on IG. So that will be you do, and we'll see you.
We would
Oh.
love to have you ladies, if you have some time next week, come and answer questions if people want to call in and ask us things.
You know,
We'll see.
I would.
Oh,
love-
no, you're gonna
You'll
be
gone.
You're gonna
She'll
be
in
gone.
the A.
We'll figure it out.
So we'll see what happens next week.
We'll see what happens.
But
thank you
y'all
for
so much
joining
I
us.
love you. And thank you, Julian. Shout out
Yeah,
to
Julian! All right!
Julian!
All right! A generational black man.
This is our first podcast that has been recorded that we weren't doing ourselves. So we appreciate you.
We appreciate your
and,
skills.
Your skills. And thank you.
And we'll shout him out so you can hire him. Okay?
Yeah.
Get the coin.
He's
Break
the
coin
man.
out.
He's the man.
He's the man.
Thanks, ladies and gents. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.